Welcome back, everyone. As you know, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. About 1 in 8 U.S. women will develop invasive breast cancer over the course of her lifetime. Early detection is key to survival. Today in Real Talk, we're discussing the importance of self-checks and misconceptions about who is actually at risk. Joining me now, once again, we're happy to have her back, family nurse practitioner Julia Ize, and breast cancer survivors Courtney Akel and Melissa Burns. Welcome. It's okay. Clap, clap, clap for yourselves, ladies. And I also want to give a shout out to our fabulous producer, Haley. We had a discussion weeks ago that we really wanted to have a roundtable. Shoot, we could have a whole hour-and-a-half segment on this. And we want to make sure we dive right into 2 stories where the risk factors weren't necessarily the typical ones. So Melissa, Courtney, whoever wants to start, talk about how you found out you had it, treatment, and of course, how you're feeling today. Let's start with you, Courtney.
Okay. So I was 29 when I was first diagnosed. I initially found the lump in October of 2016, but I did not think anything of it. And I went to my OBGYN appointment in November, and luckily she was like, you know, you should get this lump checked out. It's probably nothing. You're so young. You have no cancer history in your family, but just, you know, be cautious. And so January 11th, I was officially diagnosed with stage 3 triple positive breast cancer.
God.
Yeah.
Thank God you did not ignore that.
Yeah. So I did 6 rounds of chemotherapy and then also did Herceptin, which lasted a whole year. And then I did, I had surgery, and then I did like 27 rounds of radiation, and I, you know, have had a couple more surgeries after that. So,
Can't believe 27 rounds. How are you feeling now?
yeah. So I was hanging out with my friends last night, and I feel like every week I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm starting to feel myself again. It's so great. So it's been a little over a year and a half since I've been in remission.
Yay! Oh my God, I can't believe the process, but most importantly, thinking that because of your age, you were probably, it was going to be one of those things that you just put off or ignored, and thank goodness you didn't. And we're going to come back to the age when we get to Julia, but I also want to hear from you now, Melissa, and tell me how it all evolved for you.
I was 32 and at home with a 1-year-old, and I was pregnant with my second, and I was soaping up in the shower, and I felt something that wasn't normal, but didn't really think, let me run to my doctor and get it checked out. So I had an OB appointment coming up, and I mentioned it, and right from there they sent me to an ultrasound and a core needle biopsy because I couldn't do mammograms because I was pregnant, and that's when they told me I had stage 2B breast cancer, triple negative. So although it wasn't a hormone-based breast cancer, the hormones of the pregnancy had made it grow faster in order to feel it.
And you got that news when you were how many
I
months?
was 19 weeks pregnant.
And what was it like for you then going and moving forward with the treatment, being pregnant? A lot of people, you know, are thinking the same thing as I am. How do you do what's best for you, and then you're worried about the baby? I mean, I can't imagine the emotional strain, much less the physical.
Right. Well, fortunately, I was past the first trimester, so I didn't have to make that decision. But they wanted me to start treatment ASAP. So this unfolded all over Christmas, so I kind of had to wait through the Christmas season for the doctors to all get back. And
Oh my God.
then I had a mastectomy of my right breast, followed by 4 rounds of chemotherapy. They told me that the medicine that they were going to give me was in a large enough molecule that it doesn't penetrate your placenta. And I had to trust.
Yeah, you sure did.
I had no choice.
Right.
So she came out with a full head of hair, and I was bald.
Oh, that is great.
So we delivered her early, and then as soon as she came home from the NICU, I was sent back to treatment to resume the rest of my chemotherapy. And then I had a tram flap reconstructive surgery, which they take your pregnant belly, I had enough of, and created my breast from that.
Wow, fantastic.
And then since then, being triple negative, not sure you know, but there's nothing else. There's no tamoxifen, there's no hormonal treatments followed that. It's just, let's hope the chemo got it.
Right.
And so luckily I'll be 13 years this December.
Yes. Oh my God. I cannot even imagine. And Julia, I think, one of the reasons we want to talk about this is, we have our experts on the show who talk about the risk factors. And it is scary because both of these women essentially could have ignored one of the main signs because they thought, I'm too young.
Exactly.
So let's talk about risk factors and age.
Sure. So risk factors for breast cancer diagnosed in the United States, the average age is about 62. In addition to that, most cases fall under 40 years of age. It's only about 5%. So that's a whopping 95% of cases that are in women older than 40. So to your point, both of these ladies were far under what you think would be a typical candidate for this.
Right. And ladies, was that, so primarily for you, it must have been for you, Courtney, not only was it your age, but also the fact that knowing your family history, you didn't have a mom or grandmother. So that's pretty atypical as well, right?
Right. So in addition, with risk factors, I would say for high risk, having a first degree relative, that's going to be a mom, sister, or daughter. That doubles your risk. In addition, if you've had a radiation therapy, or if you've been diagnosed, if you've been identified to be tested positive for the BRCA1 or BRCA2 genetic mutation, that increases your risk tremendously as well.
Melissa, I'm sorry, did you have family history? Close relative? Yeah.
So all of my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, had breast cancer, but it was postmenopausal. And since my breast cancer, my maternal aunt and my mother have had breast cancer, but it's all postmenopausal.
Okay.
And none of us have a genetic link.
Wow. And
That's pretty profound.
as far as mammograms too, because the number again I think has changed. I feel like over the years of when we should. 40, is that the typical age, or now I guess it depends on if you do have it in your family history.
Right. So guidelines around mammogram can vary from one institution to the next. However, the consensus recommends that women 45 to 55 have a mammogram every year. Women 55 and older should have a mammogram every 2 years. And as we've heard here, women under 40 often have cases that warrant mammogram far sooner. So all of those things do come into play, whether there's family history for testing and other risk factors that would make you a more likely candidate.
Yeah, and ladies, when you're having these discussions now, especially all these years now since that you have been in remission, what are you hearing about women as far as the self-care that they're giving? Are they doing their self-exams? Are they doing their mammograms? I mean, I feel like with my age group of friends, we all, not that we're sitting around talking about it, but, I feel like we are very conscientious about that. But then again, I'm almost 50, so I've done it. But as far as your peer group, why would you think people would be reluctant to do those?
I think when you're younger, like when I was originally diagnosed, I don't think it's on your radar at all. I think you're still feeling invincible, and and also I think it's fear.
Yes.
Right? But I think we are all a little bit more aware, or a lot more aware, that it's out there and that it's a possibility. So I'm hoping that with that awareness, people will not only get mammograms, but do self-checks on a regular basis.
On a regular basis, as you mentioned, in the shower. It's easy, just every single day, make sure that there is not something unusual going on, and God forbid if you do find it, you got to make that appointment. No matter what, you have to get in there. And let's talk about life after, not just the diagnosis, but after the treatment, because I feel like I hear from so many friends and family members who are survivors that you get the casseroles brought to you, and you get the help and the check-ins and the cards, and then at some point all that stops, but you're still dealing with the aftermath and dealing with the coping and dealing with, as you said, or saying, even day by day now, feeling better. So what has that been like for you, even after the treatments are done, getting back to feeling like you?
For me, it was really difficult at first to have energy to do anything, to hang out with my friends, especially after radiation. And even, work a 40-hour work week was difficult at times.
Imagine, right.
And I've recently started doing yoga, which I believe has helped me tremendously increase my energy levels.
Good.
Yeah.
Physically, and I imagine that emotional release of being in there and focusing on you and sending yourself positive energy.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm really happy that I found that outlet.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I'm sure I would still be struggling.
Yeah.
A little bit, and praying every day that I'm gonna get my energy is gonna get back. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And Melissa, what was it like for you?
It was a process. I think between body image, I mean, you're in the prime of your life where you feel like, you're looking good, you're finally comfortable with who you are as a woman, and then all of that changes.
Yeah.
So it's rediscovering who you are again, and it's dealing with the fact that you just faced your mortality.
Right.
At a young age. There's a lot of women and men that suffer from PTSD after going through breast cancer. I have a lot of friends that deal with depression afterwards.
Sure.
So there's physical and a lot of emotional effects that they have to still work on.
Right. It's day by day.
And
I'm
the
sure.
fear of reoccurrence.
Right.
When you're
Always.
diagnosed younger, you have so many more years to live and worry about, is
Yeah.
it going to come back?
Yeah, and Julia, as I mentioned, we could have a whole day panel on this, but just to kind of wrap it up, any other just tips and advice for anyone, if your stories, and thank you for sharing them, we so appreciate you being on. If any of these stories have changed anybody's lives, just to make them make that appointment, then that's what this is all about. But anything else you want to add?
Sure. I would just like to say that really 40% of breast cancer diagnoses are discovered through self-checks. So it's really important to, like you guys said, have that routine where you actually check and know your baseline so that you can easily identify what's abnormal.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate your expertise as
definitely.
always. And ladies, thank you so much again. And we just appreciate you watching as you do each and every day. And once again, we're all about helping and empowering women, and we are our best advocates. So if this helped you, make that call to the doctor or do a self-exam, and that's what it's all about. And we'll be back after this short break.